It feels so weird to be talking about this. Metroid 6. We have rumors about Metroid 6. This feels so weird because I'm so used to talking about Metroid 5 as the next game, as the game we all want. For some fans, it's been decades where Metroid 5 was the game they wanted. That was the next 2D game everyone was expecting. But that's done now. Metroid 5 is a thing of the past. It's out. We've played it all. It was phenomenal. Metroid 6 would be the next 2D game. Whatever they end up calling it. Crazy. So, yeah. A Spanish leaker has leaked that Mercury Steam are working on a new 2D Metroid that's coming out in 2025. Obviously, there's no mention that it's Metroid 6. For all we know, it could be another remake. Maybe it's Super, maybe it's Fusion. We'll get around to that in a minute. But the idea of them working on another 2D Metroid, I mean, I'm sure, like, whether or not this leak is true, we all, I think, believe and expect that, right? But the reason I believe 100% in this is because I believe it was Zippo in January 2018 said that Mercury Steam were working on a new 2D Metroid, that it had just gone into development. That was January 2018. We got Metroid Dread in 2021, so that lined up perfectly, especially the 4 years that was, lined up perfectly. So that ended up being 100% true. And I guess because of that, I'm putting a lot of faith in this being true as well, because, yeah, if someone says a new 2D Metroid is in the works now, I'll believe it because it'll be 4 years when we see it. So it does line up with when you would expect everything to come together. But obviously this is exciting news. It means Metroid is back on track and to be getting another one so soon. And also the strange thing here is Mercury Steam. It's interesting because, you know, a lot of people might not be surprised Mercury Steam are doing another Metroid. I kind of am because I wasn't so certain. As I'm sure many of you know, Metroid Dread had a rough development. Not just the Nintendo DS version, under Mercury Steam. You know, there was all those reports of employee abuse, mismanagement, employees not being paid enough, being reassigned, being fired, some of them not even being credited. There was all of that going on. Apparently, half of the cutscenes for the game were cut and an entire area of the map was removed. So bits of the story were missing. There was a lot of cut content for Metroid Dread that we're probably never going to see. And yet somehow the game is still phenomenal and still feels like a complete experience. That's crazy in and of itself. But because of all that, I was skeptical whether Mercury Steam would be allowed to work on Metroid again. Because there was a risk there that maybe Metroid Dread might have been cancelled on them. But I guess because it came out, because it was so successful, Nintendo is willing to work with them again. And yeah, you look at the Retro Studio situation with Metroid Prime 1, it was very similar, except Nintendo ended up buying Retro. So I guess Nintendo are willing to be flexible with Mercury Steam. I guess. But yeah, Mercury Steam. How do I feel about this? It's funny because, you know, Samus Returns came out and I absolutely hated that game. I still to this day think that is the worst Metroid game. It is awful. And I had no faith in Mercury Steam doing Metroid Dread. I was like, I did not want them anywhere near that game. Because I thought they would do it so badly. I was like, they're not suitable for this. But I was wrong. It came out and it was phenomenal. And I had to take back a lot of my words because they did an excellent job. So now I'm in a weird position where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, maybe they could do another Metroid game. But what about a remake? What if they remake Super Metroid in the style of Samus Returns? And it looks... Maybe the different hardware means it won't look as ugly. But then again, you look at some of the concept art for Metroid Dread and they wanted to retain the Samus Returns art style, which I'm so glad they didn't. So I don't know. In terms of what this game is, remake or Metroid 6, what do I think? It could be either. I mean, it would make sense to make a brand new Metroid game and kick off the story for the future games right off the bat, immediately. That way Nintendo has options about what they want to do with the future of Metroid. The timeline is no longer pigeonholes. They have an extra space where they can slot in whatever game. If they're making some spin-off game, they don't have to worry about setting it between Zero Mission and Samus Returns. They can go, well, actually, we want to set this after Dread, like 10 years in the future or whatever, right? They can do that if the next game is Metroid 6 and it expands the universe. But on the one hand, Metroid Dread changed a lot of the lore, especially in regards to Super Metroid. Kraid survived Zebes, and Dragon's body was in Dairon in Metroid Dread. That means the Malkin were on Zebes during the events of Super Metroid. We did not see them. We did not see them at all. How did they just go there and not be noticed, right? So, for Dragon and Kraid to be there, bear in mind, Dragon being there means Kraid is not a clone. We know for a fact Kraid is not a clone because, number one, he recognizes Samus when that whole fight scene happens and he's all scarred and stuff and he has injuries from Super Metroid. But also, the fact that they have Dragon's body means they're on Zebes. So they took her body. They would have taken Kraid's body as well. Why? I don't know. Why didn't they take Ridley or Phantoon or anyone else? No clue. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe they didn't have time. I don't know. But that all said, with those changes to Super Metroid's story, it would kind of make sense to remake Super Metroid first and fit those changes in somehow. Maybe as unlockable secrets. You know, you 100% the game, you see artwork of the Chozo capturing Kraid or whatever. And also that body before Kraid's boss room. We all assume it's Weevil. They could retcon that into being one of the Malkin. That would make a lot of sense and it would tie things together and it would be pretty cool. You know, there's a lot of things they could do there. A lot of people expect a Metroid Fusion remake as well because that was one of Mercury's original pitches and obviously because of Dread. I don't think they would do Fusion. I think they would do it in order. They did Samus Returns. It would make sense to do Super next and then do Fusion. So if they're going to do a remake, it's going to be Super Metroid. So I think it's really between Super and Metroid 6. Could be either of them. I don't know which. Maybe they want to do this pattern of do a new game, do a remake, do a new game. So we had Samus Returns, which was the remake. We had Dread, which was the new game. Maybe Super Metroid remake, then Metroid 6, then a Fusion remake, etc. Maybe that's the cycle they want to go for. And actually, now that I think, I actually genuinely think that they're going for that. But either way, you know, I would be more excited for Metroid 6, but I have more faith in Super Metroid remake now because if it's done like Dread, imagine Super Metroid with Dread's perfect controls, Dread's perfect, you know, melee and stuff. All of that worked into Super Metroid. I mean, what an immaculate experience that would be. You know, you get so excited thinking about these things, but obviously, at the end of the day, it's a rumor. We don't know for 100% fact. But obviously, when you think about it logically, it makes sense. It's going to take 3 or 4 years to develop another Metroid game. So yeah, the timeline lines up that they finished Dread in 2021, or I guess technically 2022 because of the, you know, the post-game content, right? The free updates. So 2022 to 2025, 3 years on the same engine as Dread. Makes a lot of sense to me. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think it is? Do you agree with this rumor? Do you think Mercury Steam is working on another 2D Metroid? How does this make you feel? Are you excited? Do you think it's Metroid 6? Or is this a Super Metroid remake? Which would you prefer? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching and please subscribe. Novus Corvus out.